Hello everyone, I'm Noah Russell and welcome to this fall edition of IE News. Do you want to know how to transfer to a Cal State? We have all the important information with a counselor here at LBCC. And we'll get to know one of our board members, Vivian Malalulu. We'll also give you information about our award-winning radio program. All this and more on IE News. Do you want to learn how to transfer to a four-year university? Let's go to IE News reporter Yaya Fanouni, who interviews Ruben Page.
Hi, I'm Yaya Fanouni with IE News. I'm here today with Mr. Ruben Page, our transfer coordinator.
Hello.
So Ruben, you want to give us sort of a quick step-by-step process on the transfer process itself.
Yeah,
right?
I could tell you a little bit about what's going on right now.
Okay.
In terms of transfer. For next fall, applications for the Cal States and UCs are pretty much due on November 30th.
So that gives us, what, one more week?
We've got a couple of weeks to go.
Okay.
I always tell students, you may want to try to get it done before Thanksgiving so you can enjoy your Thanksgiving dinner and not have to worry
Stress-free.
about applications.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
That's true.
There may be some that extend beyond November 30th, but I tell students don't risk it. Just try to meet the priority deadline of November 30th
Just
for Cal
in case.
State. Yep, just
I mean,
in
if
case.
they give you an extension, then that's great, but if not,
Exactly.
Right.
If not, you're going to have to wait until the next term. And not everyone opens for the spring, unfortunately.
that's interesting. So it may be certain schools that if I miss this particular deadline, I won't be able to reapply until next year.
Correct. An example is Cal State Dominguez Hills. Traditionally, or in the past, they have only been open for just a few online programs in the spring. So if you miss this fall, you will more than likely be waiting until next fall to apply for Dominguez Hills.
So just one thing I want to touch on before we kind of go through the process. We spoke earlier about certain schools that have been impacted by these budget cuts and the difficulty, you know, the application process and whether or not you'll actually be accepted based on
Right.
your GPA.
Right.
You said that Cal State Dominguez is one of those schools that has not been impacted.
Yeah, Cal State Dominguez Hills has not reached campus-wide impaction yet. However, more and more students are thinking of them definitely as an option. And so I can't guarantee that their programs will not stay unimpacted in the future. For Cal State Long Beach, all majors, they're so popular. All majors
Okay.
are impacted right now, which means that they have certain, not only GPA cutoffs, but also certain major courses that are required for you to be admitted.
So, for instance, Cal State Dominguez is one of those schools where I can have a 2.0 and still be accepted.
Correct.
But Cal State Long Beach is not the same
Correct.
situation.
Just because of their impaction.
So what would be the requirement, my GPA, my overall GPA?
It would
accepted?
depend on the major.
Okay.
I see most of them at 2.5 or above.
Well, that's not bad.
Yeah, some are
Okay.
higher than others though, depending on their popularity.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
interesting. So let's say, for instance, I want to start the process.
Mm-hmm.
I go to the transfer center first.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that I would tell students to do actually. One is definitely go to our transfer center at LAC or PCC.
Okay.
At LAC, we're in building A, room 1097.
Okay.
And at PCC, building EE 105.
All right.
So you can get clued in and start getting on to tours, making appointments with university representatives that are visiting, make appointments that are with counselors that are in the transfer center, and sign up for a variety of great workshops.
Okay.
But you also want to see your counselor every semester and take advantage of all the different things that are going on with transfer that I spoke of.
Make sure that you're on the right educational plan for whatever school it is that you want to transfer to.
Correct.
And then you said you can make appointments with the counselors on that alternate campus that you're planning on transferring to.
Yes. So,
Okay.
for example, today UC Irvine's actually in our center at LAC.
Oh, okay.
Taking appointments. We've had Cal State Dominguez Hills at PCC taking appointments. We actually have a representative tabling at PCC today from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. in front of the student union.
So if I kept in touch with the transfer center, then I would see that calendar of dates.
Exactly.
When the particular university or Cal State system that I wanted to transfer to would be here on my campus.
Exactly. We
That's
actually have a
convenient.
half slip. It's our kind of email blast slip. If you fill that out, tell us what school you're interested, major, when you're thinking of transferring, we could kind of tailor our emails to you.
Okay.
So we tell you when that, we're telling all our students on that email blast list, the deadline's November 30th. If you're applying for next fall, we're telling students when the UC Irvine rep is here, the LA rep is here, when we're having workshops for the UC Personal Insight questions. So they get that information emailed to them, and when they're ready to transfer or they've transferred, they just say, please stop bothering me.
Unsubscribe.
Yeah, and
Right.
a thank you would be nice too.
Yeah, thank yous are always great.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys deserve it. You do a lot of work in
Thanks.
there. So the application process itself is started within the transfer center here on the campus.
Actually, we are one of the primary sources of help, but it's all online.
Okay.
So some students feel that they don't need the help for the transfer center.
And they just
they're-
go through the process themselves.
Yeah, they just are in their homes, on their laptops or personal
Filling
computers.
out their own application.
Yeah, and we're there just in case they get a tricky question. Say, I don't know how to answer page 2, question number 3. Can you tell me the right way to answer this question?
Well, you're there with us every step of the way,
Yes. if-
whether we need you or we don't.
Exactly, we're always there
Well,
for
we
you.
need you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks.
we definitely need you.
Thank you.
Is there anything else that you think our students who are planning on transferring need to know about this process?
I would actually. I try to warn students that when you're applying basically a year in advance. So our students applying for fall of 2018 are applying right now.
That's a big, huge
Yep.
gap
And
prior to the actual
Some students
transfer.
don't understand, why am I applying a year early? On the application, you actually put down what you're taking this semester and planning to take future semesters.
Oh, I see.
And they conditionally accept you based on that information. If you're talking to me in the spring and saying I want to transfer in the fall, it's already typically too late.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. They want to see, the educational path that you're on and then what you're planning on taking when you arrive on their
Yeah.
campus.
And some students
So
will ask
years-
me, why don't they look at it in the summer right before fall? It's just not enough time.
I would assume that pushing all that paperwork right before the semester actually starts would be difficult.
Yeah,
It doesn't
exactly.
give them enough time to process new students.
Yeah, that's exactly why they're looking at the information right now. This
That
fall.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for
Sure.
being here with us
Thanks
today.
for having me.
And I'll be there soon. Long Beach City College, once again, I'm Yaya Fanuni with IE News. This is Mr. Ruben Page. If you have any questions about transferring, go to the Transfer Center.
Thank you.
Being a board member here at LBCC has a lot of responsibility. Let's meet board member Vivian Malulu up close and personal.
Hi, Long Beach City College. I'm Yaya Fanuni with IE News. I'm sitting here today with the lovely Mrs. Vivian Malulu.
Thank you.
Right? And she is the first Latina to be elected to the Long Beach City College Board of Trustees. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And we talked earlier about how you ran a campaign
That's right.
and you were able to challenge a seated incumbent,
Correct.
and now you're in that position.
Correct.
Do you want to maybe tell some of the student body a little bit about what your responsibility is, which seems like a lot?
Sure, sure. So the College Board of Trustees is a 5-member body, and each member on the board represents a different part of the district. I am the trustee for Area 2, which represents West Long Beach and the south central parts of the city. Those are Long Beach City Council District 6 and 7 mostly, a little bit of District 1 also. And we have a fiduciary responsibility to the college, making sure that everything that we do, every decision that we make, reflects positively on students, the staff, the faculty, as well as the community. Our biggest responsibility is our budget, to make sure that we have a fair, balanced budget, that the college is always well ran and funded, all our programs. And secondly, we oversee just about every item of operation on campus, including contract negotiations with the bargaining units, the unions on campus, the full-time faculty, the part-time faculty, as well as the classified staff. So we've been able to ratify 2 contracts, and hopefully we'll have 1 more pending, and then we'll be done with negotiations for a couple of years.
Oh, well, that's great. That'll
It is.
alleviate you slightly.
It
right?
is. It's fantastic. And then we have an amazing strategic plan, and we have, I love Long Beach City College because of the people who work here. We have the most amazing faculty, staff, administrators, and our strategic plan is so important to our success. And we're currently midterm in our accreditation. So we're doing so many wonderful things that even without contract negotiations, we would be busy and productive anyway.
Because it seems like the board has a great relationship with the faculty here.
I have a great relationship with everybody here. I love my board. We work really hard to get things done. Even though we might not always agree, we still manage to make the right decision every single time. So I'm very happy about that. It was a lot of discussion, a lot of effort, some compromising, but we're able to get it done. And look, I mean, we have an amazing college as a result of it.
It's a great college. It's actually listed as like one of the #1 community colleges.
It should be the number
California.
one.
It should, I agree.
Absolutely.
Well, I think Santa Monica may be
Long
beating
Beach.
us, but yeah. So you're a very busy woman. Aside from that, you're married and you have children.
Correct.
And you're also a longshoreman.
Correct. So my first job is as a wife and mother.
Which is a full-time job within itself.
Right. My husband and I will be celebrating 20 years of marriage next year.
Wow.
We have 4 kids between the ages of 17 and 9. So I've got elementary school, a middle schooler, and 2 high schoolers.
You look way too young.
Well, thank you.
You
Extra
look really
credit
good.
for her assignment here. Thank you. But that's really my priority. And then I do have my real job, which is, my bread and butter. I'm a longshore worker. I work for the Twin Ports Complex of Los Angeles and Long Beach, registered member of ILWU Local 13. I love my union.
Union.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I'm very active in my union. So in addition to my job, which I work the night shift, so in addition to my night job, I'm also very active in the union, and I'm an elected officer in my union. I've been several positions. Currently, I'm a trustee in my union. No relationship to being a trustee at Long Beach City College. The
Right.
two are very different. It just so happens that we have, 3 trustees for our local, and I'm one of them. But I've ran and been elected by the grace of God. The membership has supported me, and that keeps me busy.
I'm sure it does, because when people have grievances in
Sure.
the union, they come to you and you kind of
Exactly.
arbitrate.
I don't really deal with that. We do have LRC, labor relations representatives who do that, but I do have a fiduciary responsibility to the local. So we are involved in a lot of the contracts and hiring, same as here. So the trustee position in itself is very similar. They just aren't related.
They're not related.
Correct.
Yeah, because it's completely different job obligation.
Correct.
Well, you're so busy. How do you make time for it all?
Truthfully, honestly, what I do is every morning I wake up and I pray. And I make a list of everything that I want to do that day. Usually starts with everything I have to do that day, and then what I want to do. And I really just give it to God. And I go from one thing to another, and I'm on the phone, driving from one place to another, returning
Right.
phone calls, and
While you're checking your email?
not while I'm driving,
Good.
but and then you have to be really organized, and you
Yeah,
have to
I'm
have
sure.
a really
Diligent
effective
approach.
Yeah, your calendar is important, and I make mistakes. A couple times I've shown up at the wrong place at the wrong time. It's happened a couple of times.
Yeah, I do it all the time, so.
Well, it's happened to me a couple of times, and I just kind of play it off, and I just came to say hi.
Hey, yeah, I just stopped by to see how things were going.
Exactly.
And they're like, okay.
Right. Well, it's tough. It's tough, and
No, you're juggling a lot.
But I'm really involved too, and I don't do anything I don't want to do. Thankfully, I've paid my dues, and I've been there, done that, and for many years I did a lot of things that I had to do that I may not have wanted to do. But now I'm in a position where just about everything I do, I want to do.
So you're doing what you want.
I'm
You're doing what you love.
a board member for the Greater Long Beach YMCA Early Childhood Education Program.
Nice.
I love that board. I'm a commissioner for youth and children for the city. I love that board. People ask me all the time, could you be on our board? And no.
We're looking for a board member at our nonprofit.
So I mean, I would love to, but
Yeah. No, you're swamped.
I'm on 4 boards, and I'm happy.
Yeah.
I can do them. 2 at work, 2 here. I'm good.
Yeah, you can juggle it.
Yeah.
Where did you attend school? Do you mind me asking?
No. So I'm not sure how far back you want to go, but I was born in Honduras.
Okay.
I came to the U.S. and Honduras just lost in the qualifying match to Australia.
Oh, wow.
We beat Mexico. We did so well against
And then-
France.
then Australia.
And then Australia came anyway. I was up till 1 in the morning watching the game because it was, televised late.
Well, good luck, mate.
Yeah. So I came to the U.S. when I was 7. I attended all public schools. I grew up in Carson. I graduated from Banning High School.
Okay.
I got my BA in journalism from Cal State Northridge and my master's in educational administration at Cal State Dominguez Hills. And I do hope to finish a PhD that I started, 3 kids ago.
You'll get there.
So I will.
You'll get there.
Once my kids are up and out, it'll be my time to go back to school.
How did you end up residing here in Long Beach?
So my husband and I both grew up in Carson.
Okay.
And when we were dating, we always came to Long Beach. Always
great
went
city.
to the Pike. Always did things in Long Beach. And when it was time for us to look for a house, we naturally looked in Long Beach, and we chose the closest neighborhood to Carson, West Long
Yeah,
Beach.
so you still
So
have that.
we're
yeah.
10 minutes away from my parents, his parents, our church.
It's convenient.
Yeah.
And this is a great city.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot to do here. Yeah.
We went full steam ahead. We dove right in. Our kids have gone through all the area schools. They've gone through the Parks and Recs. They've played, I've got my boys right now are playing West Long Beach Little League.
Oh, nice.
My girls have been Long Beach All-Stars. My boys were Long Beach All-Stars.
You're Long Beached out.
Yeah.
Well, we're really happy to have you.
Thank you. And I'm really happy
You're
to
like
be
a
here.
wonderful inspiration. I mean, it's
Thank you.
to see a woman in this day and time to be able to do as much as you're doing and still juggle domestic life and be so involved in the community. It's a lot.
Thank
It's
you.
a lot.
I
You're definitely
appreciate
an
that.
inspiration.
Thank you, and I hope that there are, many, many young ladies and women out there who never take no for an answer. Just make goals and achieve them. Please, please, please stay in school. Go as far as you can with your education.
That's
For
important.
everybody. My biggest regret is seeing students who don't pursue the education, who settle for one, and they could keep going.
Yeah, you can. On that note, Long Beach City College, when you leave here, keep it going, right?
That's right.
Thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you
today.
so
We really
much,
appreciate it.
Yaya.
And
I
it was
appreciate
wonderful meeting
too.
you.
Thank you.
Long
Thank
Beach
you.
City College, this is Yaya Fanuni with IE News, and we're saying goodbye to Miss Vivian
Thank you.
Malaulu.
Go Vikings.
Yeah.
Maybe you didn't know, but LBCC has an award-winning radio television program. Let's meet radio instructor Ken Borgers to learn more.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen, in Long Beach City College, I'm here with Mr. Ken Borgers. He is the instructor of our radioactivity class, and he's got an amazing story, pretty interesting, entertaining to say the least.
Checkered career, I guess, is the best way to describe it.
So how did you get into radio, and how did your entire career start?
Well, I was going to school. I was going to, at the time I was going to USC. My father taught there, so I got in free. That's one of the perks of being a USC professor kid. And worked at the station KUSC, which was student run at the time.
Okay.
Entirely student run. 30,000 watt FM station in Los Angeles.
Oh, wow.
Entirely student run. So it was a great opportunity. And I did that for the first semester and a half that I was there. Then I decided I'd try to go get a job, in commercial radio. So there's a place called the Southern California Broadcasters Association, SCBA, and now it's online, scba.com. But back then, you had to actually go in.
Oh,
and
okay.
They were up on Highland, and there was a big board, about 50, 60 feet long, with all the jobs listed in Southern California for production, for management, for sales, for engineering. There was one announcer job, and it was in Colton, which is right outside San Bernardino.
Which is nowhere.
Well, it's 60 miles from where I
Yeah.
was, and I had a Chevy with a 348 engine, so it was not great on gas. But I called the program director, and back then you could actually get the program director of the radio station on the phone. Yeah, and he said, come on out. So I drove out there in my Chevy with a 348 engine, and I had my resume, and I had, at the time you had an audition tape. Now you would have an MP3 sample online for somebody to look at.
Right.
But I had to have a tape and a resume. And I walked in and I gave it to him, and he said, oh, okay. And he put them on the table, and he gave me 2 commercials. He said, go in the studio there and read those 2 commercials into the microphone. And I did, and I came out, and he said, you're hired.
Just like that.
Yeah. And I said, well, what, don't I need to know something about the music? He said, no, we're going to give you all the music to play. Don't worry about it. And I said, well, what about working the equipment? He said, I could teach a banana to work the equipment in about half an hour. There's nothing to working the equipment. Don't worry about it. So could I pick something up and make it sound spoken instead of read?
Red.
And if I could do that, then I was hired.
Well, that's important.
That in this business, that's really important. Practice reading aloud would be my first bit of advice to people who want to get into this business. Even though it seems
like robots are taking over everything, but yeah, still.
Well, there's still no substitute for a voice that can read. I mean, they haven't got robots to that point. They probably will, but they haven't got them to that point. So anyway, I was hired. I made $1.60 an hour.
It's a lot of money back then, huh?
Back in when I was hired, it was a lot of money. No, it was not very much money, but it was a job. And I worked 6 to midnight every night, 7 nights a week.
Cool shift.
So every night, 7 nights a week. And I was playing what we used to refer to as Italian music. Madavani and Mellacrino and the cascading voices of the Hugo and Luigi chorus. And every 15 minutes I would come in and say, KRNO, 1240 San Bernardino. You know, like that. We had to talk like that. And it was classical music for people who didn't like classical music.
Kind of like the wave.
Well, sort of like the wave, yeah. Like the wave, people who want some music, but they just, you know, they don't want to have to think too much.
Right,
you know?
just some background noise.
Some background noise, so they don't have to, you know. I'd rather listen to a 1,000-cycle tone than that, but some people like that. Okay, so I worked there for a few months, and then I quit because I was driving back and forth 60 miles with my Chevy.
With your Chevy?
And I figured after each day, I made about 50 cents a day on that job.
After
paying
your
for my
cost,
gas,
yeah.
But it paid for everything. I mean, it led to everything else that I did in the business, because the guy who hired me there a few months later hired me at KNAC.
Oh, wow.
In Long Beach.
Okay.
KNAC was an FM station at 105.5 FM. It doesn't exist anymore in the format of rock and roll. It was bought by Spanish owners, and it became KBUE.
Well, when I was growing up, I remember KNAC being a rock and roll station, and it was 105.5, right? Like you said, 105.5.
Yeah.
But when you started, FM was kind of like a new thing.
Oh yeah, it was real frontier days. You know, it was wide open, and we were coming off of what they called American Top 40 in AM radio, which was very tightly formatted, less talk, fewer songs, nothing more than 3 minutes.
Oh,
and
wow.
Then when FM started in the mid 60s, late 60s, it was kind of a rebellion against all that. You could play half-hour songs, you could talk for 45 minutes.
And change the format.
It was wide open, you know, so it was kind of like the internet is now. It was a frontier, you know, and it was exciting to be part of that. And I worked in rock and roll radio there, and then I went out in Illinois and I worked in rock and roll radio in Carbondale, Illinois for a couple of years. And then came back here, got into non-commercial radio, where I've been pretty much ever since.
But you weren't really a rock and roll guy. You're kind of more of a jazz man, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, I didn't know anything about rock and roll. And came the time, the station changed format while I was there. I started playing middle-of-the-road music, and it changed to rock and roll music. And I went in to do my first show, knowing nothing about the format. And the record library was about as big as your television studio. And I knew nothing about the music. So I had a 2 to 6 a.m. shift. That was going to be my first rock and roll shift. And I got a call about 10 minutes before I went on the air from the guy who was the #1 jock on the station, Don Bunch. And he's at a party, and you could hear people partying, you know, around him. And he said, "Hey, you're doing your first show tonight?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "You know anything about the music?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Okay, well, go over to the Jays, look for Jethro Tull," you know, and he sat there, and people would bring him up drinks and food, and he sat with me for the entire 4 hours from 2 to 6 a.m. He'd already worked that day.
Right.
And he sat with me and programmed my
Just
entire
mentored you through
show.
it.
Saved my life.
Yes.
To put it politely. Because after that, I had a grounding in stuff to start with, you know, and I knew some names.
Right.
And I learned the format.
Where you could kind of pull from.
So there's my second lesson. After reading aloud, needing to practice reading aloud, take any job, whether it's in your ideal format or whatever. Take any job. I work at a jazz station now in San Diego, KSDS 88.3. And there's a black fellow, Ron Denifu, who's been on the air forever. He was on KPFK in Los Angeles in the 60s. But there was a period in his life where he needed a job, and he was working a country station. And he was Petey Wheatstraw for his incarnation as a country guy. So you do what you need to do. And it's a very, very small community, the people in radio. Everybody knows everybody, and somebody that works for you, you'll be working for him a year or two later.
At some point, huh?
It's just that's the way it is. So the third lesson I have for you is don't burn a bridge. Always be nice. As Ray Sharp said in his careers class this week where I was, it doesn't cost anything to be nice, you know? Just be nice to people, because it will pay dividends later when people because we had a guy come talk to the radio class career counselor, Dr. Chaz Austin, and he was saying, you know, it's not enough to know how to do stuff. It's not what you know. It isn't even really who you know, like people always say it is. It's who you know well enough that when there's an opening, they'll remember you and they'll call you. And that means having a rapport with the people you work with.
So if I wanted to get into radio, which I am in the program, our award-winning program here at Long Beach City College.
Oh, right, of course, right. We've won
radio, television.
We've won 6 national awards in the last 4 years.
That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, who else can say that in California as a community college?
I can't think of another place, actually. So,
I mean, I was searching before I came to this program. I was on a search, and this was actually the only one I found.
yeah,
So-
I mean, a lot of colleges have abandoned radio and or television because it's very expensive to keep a commitment to a program like this. You have to be constantly coming up with grants to buy more equipment, that sort of stuff. But this place has a 40-year plus commitment to radio TV at Long Beach City College.
I had no idea we were here this long.
Mid-70s, KLBC started up, and the program has been going continuously since. So if you were looking for a place to take radio TV, this is a good place to do it. You asked about how to get into the business. The best way, there are 2 ways to get into the business. One is to know somebody,
Right.
and the other way is to intern. I tell people this is the best way to get into the business. And you can, we have an internship class, and you sign up for a certain number of units depending on how many hours you're going to commit to going to the place of business to work. And then you intern with a radio or television station. And as the career counselor said when he was here, Chaz Austin, internships, what are they but long probation periods? They're a chance for the place to look at you and for you to look at the place. And a lot of times they'll hire directly from internships. Part of that is something that's very difficult to teach, and that is ingratiating yourself, hitching
Right.
your wagon to somebody's star there. And we can get you into the building. And a lot of times people do an internship, and did you get something? Well, yeah, they had me folding and stapling and stuff. No, I mean, did you use the internship?
Did you use the internship?
Did you figure out how to
Yeah.
get in? You know, in the
Take
television,
advantage of the situation.
in the television world, and Mr. Hirsch will correct me on the numbers, but it's something like this. One way to get into the television business is to be a page at the networks. They get something like 40,000 applications for pages a year. Pages
a lot of
pages of people who
applications.
give studio tours, you know, open doors for people and that sort of thing. And they get 40,000 applications. They pick about 45 people. And you're a page for 6 months. If in that 6 months you haven't figured out a way in, you don't have enough drive to
Right,
get into the
tenacity.
business, and you're out and they'll get somebody else to do it. Because once you're on the inside, it's just like being an intern. Once you're on the inside, you can see where the jobs are,
Right.
and you can find your way in.
Right.
And if you can't find your way in,
Then you're not cut out
it's
for it.
not for you,
Yeah.
because it is the most competitive business in the world. Ray Burton, who was the head of the program here before Mr. Hirsch, always, when people came in and they said, I want to do something in radio TV, but I don't know what. First question he asked them was, do you want to be rich or do you want to be famous? Because the only reason to go into the talent side of this business is, to use a double negative, if you can't not do it. If you are driven to be on the radio or television, then great, but know that it's the most competitive business in the world. The other side of the business, sales, production,
Advertising.
it's those people have much more stable careers and really in the long run much more lucrative careers because they aren't constantly on the make looking for a job.
Right.
You know, it's sort of like in politics where senators and Congress people come and go, but the people who run the office stay there.
They're stationary.
There's a Republican in charge of the office, and then there's a Democrat in charge of the office, but you still need somebody to do the scheduling, to, you know, coordinate everything. And those people have long careers. So
Job security,
radio TV is the same way. Go into the other side of the business. You can't make money any way faster in this world than selling radio or TV time. That's where the money is. So
I can see that.
So we'll hope to see folks out there in the radio program here sometime soon.
How can they go on the website or
Yes.
just enroll in
the
classes?
newly redesigned Long Beach City College website is very user friendly, and you can go there and find all the programs that are listed in the radio, all the classes listed in the radio TV department are right up there. You can enroll online, And classes will start again January, I think the last week in January.
Okay.
So they're signing up now. So.
Yeah, and there's short-term classes that we're starting now, right? This week, I believe there was short-term classes.
Yes, there are some there's a short-term session in between the fall and the spring, and they're going to be teaching the core class in the department, RTV1, during that time. And then when spring starts in January, the full slate of RTV classes will be offered.
And that's the acronym that we look for on the website, is RTV.
RTV, yeah, R_TV, I think is what it says, but you'll find it alphabetically in the schedule of classes.
Thanks so much for coming today.
Thanks for having me.
It's always really great to talk to you.
Likewise.
Yeah,
Thanks
your
for having
story
me.
is always enthralling.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys. This is Yaya Fanouni with IE News.
Well, that just about wraps up this edition of IE News. If you're interested in becoming a member of our Long Beach City News team at Long Beach City College, produce great television, please call 562-938-4892. I'm Noah Russell with IE News, and we'll see you next time.